What's up, everybody? Welcome to part two of the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. We're going to talk some more football, breaking down the safety position as we go through our position by position previews, getting ready for spring. Also, Xavier Lucas, another Xavier Lucas rule. I feel like this guy's the most controversial player who's ever did anything controversial as we talk about the NCAA trying to crack down on post-portal transfers, also trying to crack down on tampering. A lot of new stuff coming out of the NCAA. We'll see if anything sticks, but we'll talk about all of that and more. And, of course, my interview with the coach of the 10-0 Miami Hurricanes baseball team, Coach J.D. Arteaga, will be on there at the end of the show, powered by powered by Sal Astorita and Cox, as always, for our baseball coverage. Pete, hop in. Where is he? There he is. There he is.
Good morning, D.
I always fear I'm going to get my sponsors mixed up here. You know, it's a challenge is trying to balance all these reads off the cuff. So, you know, I need you to check me sometimes. It's like when I say the wrong name of a football player or pronunciation. I always need you there to correct me. So when I'm rolling solo, it's dangerous territory.
Yep, there you go.
Good to have you by my side here. Canes Cat's fired up. Let's ride. Says we're never going to lose. The world famous Danny Boy Kane. Good morning to you, sir. You know, Pete, before we get into the safety preview, combine starting, do you miss being out there in Indy, or you like being there?
I do. Every year, this is actually the time of year that I do miss the travel throughout the season. I mean, really, not even just throughout the season, the off season too. All of the travel and stuff can really wear you down, but the combine week is always cool, just being out there in that environment and being out there really with the guys that you have known and have built these relationships with, and seeing them kind of live out their dreams and get themselves in position to get drafted is a really cool experience. Obviously, just again being in that environment I mean, you're sitting there and you literally see Belichick walking by, not anymore, but when I just remember seeing Marino walk by, Belichick, and it's Elway, and then you're just like, it's normal. Nobody's going getting starstruck by it because that's just where you are. But again, it's more so even just about like seeing, you know, being there with your guys and guiding them through the process, which is cool. Because we forget that these guys they're more, I think, ready for it now that they've had money, D, and they've kind of dealt with, hey, I'm a fully grown adult now, right? Which obviously you're in college and you aren't making any money. It's, you know, you're limited in what you can do and your options and your choices. It's I think guys are probably getting there with a little bit more preparedness now at this stage with NIL, which is, and the scouts like the NIL stuff, as I've said before, because you get to really understand kind of who these guys are when they get money before you have to play that guessing game and when they get to the NFL.
And more good on good tape, because number one, you have the playoffs. So with someone like Bain, you can see him against all the best tackles, Messidor, Bell, you know, whatever you want. They went against the best players for an extended period of playoff ball. But also the G5 guys, you can watch them in the Power Four because they get plucked at some point. Aside from Emmanuel McNeil, Warren, Toledo, man, whatever they got going on in the Glass City is working, because they're not getting their guys plucked in the portal. They're keeping their first rounders. But most of the talent now, by the time you get to the combine or into the draft, is at the Power Four level, which I think is a major, major change. Pete, I want to get your thoughts on this comment, because let me see if I can find it here, because it blew my mind to read it. But one of these GMs said that like 25% of their top 100 players went back to school, and like they're evaluating guys, expecting them to come out, and they actually don't come out, and that's like a whole new thing. So, what do you think about that whole phenomenon?
Yeah, I mean, I think what happens now is you have guys who are maybe in their third year who are eligible, and what ends up happening is they are top 100 prospects in terms of the league thinking that they are ready to go, but they're saying, man, if I'm a the 80th to 90th ranked guy here, if I'm a late second round pick, early third round pick, and I'm here now at this point, then I'll just come back and try to become a first round pick. Now you're getting paid that. So you're pretty much making up the difference. If you're already in that range, you're making up the difference of what you would have made as a second, third round pick in NIL money a lot of times, at least for that one season, right? Not over the course of the contract, which should be understood. But they're saying, I'm going to take a chance on myself and work myself to the board. What a lot of people don't realize about some of these decisions that were being made before, D, about guys who were leaving early, is certain people were so desperate to say, you know what? I will take a chance being a 7th round pick to undrafted player because I'm not getting paid here next year. And I'm already limited in certain things. There's certain guys who are limited by, height, weight, speed things a lot of times. And they're saying, man, I can't come back for another year here and not get paid. I would rather put myself into, now the value of the degree and all that. We understand what that is, but I'm just telling you what some guys' mindsets over the years have been. D. So I think NIL has eliminated that thought process from it completely. Now it's like, shoot, if I'm not a top 3 round pick, I'm coming back because I'll make more here because I'm more valuable to this college game than I am to the NFL right now. And that's what people don't understand about these like quarterback deals and stuff like that, is that when they say, wow, this guy's making more than this rookie quarterback. Yeah, if that rookie quarterback was in college, he'd be making just as much because his value at the college level would be higher than it is in the NFL level. A guy coming into the league isn't of the same value as a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but they can be the equivalent to that in the college level. So they need to get paid accordingly to it. But it's an ever-changing game, as we'll see now with this next topic that we're going to discuss here, D. And it's something that I've been openly challenging here, kind of as you have the last few months here, as people say, well, there's only one transfer portal period. And we're kind of like, well, what does that really mean?
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll find out in court, which is kind of like the story of all these things. I go to footballscoop.com and I see a picture of Xavier Lucas, which we talked about it last week, Pete. These corners that we have, let's say Xavier Lucas and OJ Frederick, I think part of one of the best, if not the best cornerback rooms in the country next year. But they're not controversial guys. I don't know OJ as well. I did a storm sessions with Xavier Lucas, but talking to people around these guys, they are not, loudmouth corners. They are not controversial guys. They're not guys that seek attention. But yet, I feel there's been at least 3 major rule changes this year where these guys are front and center. Of course, you had the Xavier Lucas targeting rule, we'll call it, which they're trying to get rid of that second half or first half suspension when you get targeting in the first half. The whole thing that happened to him in the championship game, that is now under scrutiny and probably going to get taken away. Everybody expects, where you don't get a suspension automatically. Maybe it's based on repeat offense or whatever. So that's like the Xavier Lucas targeting rule. And when they showed the picture of the rule change, it was his face. And then the booty short rule, which is the OJ Frederick rule, because he is the foremost offender of the pants above the knees violation. That was last week. We did a whole show about it. Now you have another Xavier Lucas rule, as you see him right there with Football Scoop, where
that was this week, actually. We did that on Monday, I think.
Okay, on Monday. So again, just like that, a whole nother set of rules that have nothing to do with the others involving Xavier Lucas. And this is basically the result of meetings of the NCAA Football Oversight Committee. The Buffalo AD, Mark Allnut, is the spokesman for these meetings and these potential rule changes. Now, none of this is official. This is just things that are being discussed in the Oversight Committee of the NCAA in Indianapolis, where the NCAA is based. And they're looking at extremely, beyond punitive measures for coaches who try to do what you talked about, the Xavier Lucas loophole, and say, listen, guys, forget the portal. Portal's closed. Now there's only one portal period, right? If you unenroll from whatever school and enroll in ours, you will be on our team for the summer and then for August camp and then ultimately the season. So NCAA is trying to get ahead of what we can all expect college coaches to do, because college coaches are going to look at every single opportunity they can to make their team better, except maybe Florida and Florida State. Other teams that are trying to win are going to do everything they can to make their team better. So NCAA is saying, before people start doing this loophole, because some guy got injured in spring or a position is not as strong as they thought on paper, we're going to add these very, very punitive measures. So again, this is all proposed. None of this is official. But what the NCAA is looking at is, if, let's say, I'll use Florida State as an example, because we don't violate the rules. Say Florida State says, hey man, our quarterback sucks. We picked the backup from Auburn and he stinks. Let's get a quarterback from another school to jump in the portal, or not jump in the portal, to unenroll from his school and enroll in ours to get ready for camp outside the portal window. The potential penalties for this would be the head coach being suspended from everything, recruiting, coaching, meetings, for 6 games of the season. The head coach, 20% of the football budget fined, and then 5 roster spots gone the next year. I mean, insane penalties. And then Buffalo AD, who's the rules committee chairman, the oversight committee chairman, Mark Allnut,
Buffalo. Let's get someone on the committee chair that is involved in these sort of situations.
Right. Buffalo AD. What is Buffalo?
Please.
College sports. What are we talking about?
Can we at least get a Power 4 AD in charge?
They don't want these rules. Hopefully they fight and veto this thing. But he said, we felt this was appropriate to place an emphasis on this rule with where we are in Division I football. We have a window for student athletes to notify their school when they would like to enter the transfer portal, if there is movement, without going through the process as it is legislated, whatever that word means, legislated in this context. The committee felt there needed to be significant penalties. As Football Scoop points out, you will have lawyers arguing that there's a restriction of player movement, and it's an unlawful restriction on trade, antitrust, all that.
I mean, they're restricting player movement by punishing someone outside of the players.
Right. Which is, by the way, the smart way to do it.
Well,
like
from
their standpoint.
Right. It's a nice, they want to get rid of all these loopholes, but they're creating, but they're using their own loopholes to put this rule into place that, nothing has actually passed yet. But
we'll see if it actually becomes the NCAA rule. So the steps of this thing is NCAA's got to adopt it. Then the other step is it's got to survive judicial scrutiny, right? And I think part of the problem, not problem, but just the process, Pete, is there needs to be like an actual injury to sue. So like someone has to be harmed by this rule. So first thing you got to do is you got to find a player that's like, I want to go to this school, but I'm not allowed. Is that going to be like a high profile player that's actually doing it because he's getting paid millions to leave? Is it going to be just like somebody who wants to do it and is maybe like a players' rights activist and wants to kind of just be the face of the lawsuit? It doesn't have to be an Xavier Lucas caliber player to be the plaintiff, but someone's going to test this. I think if you're a team that wants to use this way of getting better, you want it to be tested sooner than later so the judge can rule and you have some clarity coming out of spring at least. So we'll see, man. This is going to be very interesting.
220 Greenwich says, to be fair, they do need to put some sort of guardrails in place, and they just keep losing every case in court. Well, make them employees then. It's not that difficult,
right?
And I'm not saying that at you, Greenwich. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I don't think any of us are against there being some more restriction in terms of, hey, this guy comes here, you at least gotta. Some people say 3 years. I say 2 years. I say 2 years will solve a lot of issues. A lot of guys who bounce after 1 year, are leaving too early in the development process for themselves. And then if they aren't ready in 2 years as it is, they're already getting processed out. So I say 2 years is a good thing. We're not against restriction. But you gotta, these contracts to hold weight, there has to be more things in place that kind of classify them as something other than what they are right now.
No doubt. I think I agree with you, Pete, totally, which is it's not worth saying, we're not saying there shouldn't be any rules, but when you say the NCAA keeps losing every case in court, like they're losing for a reason. Like there's a reason they lose. They're not just losing because these judges are fans of other college football teams, although you'll hear that argument. They're losing because what the NCAA does is illegal fundamentally. So I think if you want guardrails, look at the league like at the NFL. They have guardrails. The NBA, the MLB, NHL, everybody has their own set of guardrails. They're not all the same, by the way. Every sport's a little different. College football would be the most different because it's a college, so there's a lot of different considerations you have to take into account. It's not easy. There's going to be a lot of work to get it to something that makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's the people that control the organizations, in this case, the schools, the people doing the work, which is the players, coming together and making the rules together. And that's what you need. And that when you do that, you can get the calendar set up. You can get the portal calendar set up, the portal process set up. If the reason why really more so than anything, just as a fan, Pete, why I want this to kind of be more NFL like, and I like college so much more than the NFL. I mean, I don't even watch the NFL that much anymore. I watch the NFL to see college players. Like I'm a college football guy through and through. But there's no question the NFL is the best organization in sports.
Right.
I mean, and I know you love soccer.
People get mad at no, soccer's a mess. I mean,
like I know you like soccer. It's the most popular sport in the world. But if soccer had NFL organizations behind it, they'd probably make it twice as much money as they do.
Shout out to Gianni, man. Shout out to my boy Infantino. I'll say that though. If we're open for business here at CanesInSight. FIFA is a very local organization. So not talking about FIFA. I'm more talking about UEFA. Those Europeans, can't trust them. But to your point, people get mad at Goodell for making $45 million a year. I say, hey, how much is the league making?
That's the best money they ever spent.
And to his a lot of the stuff that he's put in place. So
you look at the NFL Network, which they sell ads on the NFL Network, right? It's a business. I'm about to watch the Combine on the NFL Network for like a week of content, which is just people running around. The draft, I always talk about the draft as an example, which is become insane. The draft's on like 4 channels. Like it's on ABC, it's on ESPN, it's on NFL Network. It's insane. And then, of course, in front of hundreds of thousands live. Like if college football had one organizing body, the portal could be a show, not just our show, but like an ESPN show, a college football network show instead of all these different networks, one like an NFL network for college show. You could have the high school combines as a show probably. Even though I know they're outside of the NCAA because they're high school. But you could probably do that stuff as a show. Like you could have a portal combine for G5 guys. Like you could have a million things you could do if everything was organized, and it would make the process better. It would make the football part of it better. It would also just be great content and money-making opportunities. But because everything is done here, what can we get away with? What are we going to get sued on? What's this conference want to do? What's this conference want to do? What's this team want to do? It's a mess. And I think that's what you're seeing here. Ultimately, this is going to be a very interesting case. I'm just concerned. I want everything to favor player movement because I think player movement favors Miami because we're better at getting players than other teams. So, from my standpoint, I want this rule to not work. The timing is going to be big. How quickly can the court?
How the heck can they get this thing? I guess with the NCAA, I can never count anything out. They work on their own timeline for the better, for the worse of them, or of the public or the fans of the NCAA or the members of the NCAA, which are the schools, right? But they'll obviously work to their benefit, whether that's slowing things down or speeding things up, I believe.
Well, it works both ways because you could say, all right, well, if we take our time, that's going to be harder for the lawsuit to happen before players start moving. That makes sense. But also, if you take your time too much, if I'm a coach that wants to do this, I'll just do it ahead of the rule change.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to retroactively apply it? That seems kind of BS. So.
Well, and there's just there's so many things here that you can argue on the other side, right? Who's to say that there's a player whose high school coach has a very close connection to a position coach at a school, and again, like I understand it's the head coach. That's still the one but there's just too many things that you can say that are against this in terms of like why it shouldn't go through.
Yep. No, it's and then real quick, there's some news we're gonna get to in a second here, Pete. But real quick, just pull up the tampering article I sent you. There's also the NCAA is really ramping up apparently the tampering penalties. This just broke right before we jumped on the show. So I didn't read through the article beyond the headline, but it looks like the NCAA is also trying to ramp up tampering penalties as part of this meeting that they had, where they sent a memo saying there'd be significant penalties after an 18-month pause.
I believe this. I believe this 100%. And from what I posted this on the Discord back in December time, but I've been hearing for a while the NCAA wants to make an example out of someone in terms of tampering. Like you said, there was a pause on being able to kind of enforce it for the last year and a half. But if they can push this through in terms of it's not pushing anything through. It's just like they've now, once you sent a memo to warn people, you're letting them know, hey, look, we've let some stuff slide, but that's not really going to be the case now. I think when you talk about what happened with Ole Miss and Clemson, the way it played out publicly with the linebacker and Dabo with he pulled the receipts now, and he had it very well documented. I don't know how the NCAA, if they want to do all this other stuff, can be provided that information and it's out there publicly and not at least do something like this. Now, there are some people that will say I will believe it when I see it in terms of someone getting punished for it. But I've heard for months now the NCAA was getting ready to do this because they do want to make an example out of someone. So we'll see who gets in trouble first, right?
We'll see. We'll be watching it on here, maybe pouring ourselves.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we aren't watching it on here.
We're watching someone else get in trouble for it. While pouring ourselves a nice glass of ZONIN Prosecco, one of the top Proseccos in the world. 200 plus years of winemaking experience for the ZONIN family in Italy. They are now crossing the pond. They're statewide. You can get this ZONIN Prosecco in Total Wine all over the country. If you're local, Publix, ABC Liquors, Jensen Liquors, you name it, restaurants like Motek, Olive Garden, over the Fountain Blue, they have ZONIN Prosecco. Make sure you ask for it when you go to these places so they know you want that ZONIN Prosecco, ZONIN. Our guy Rob, CanesInSight listener, huge Canes fan. He's been spreading this thing all over the States. 90 rating from James Suckling. Best value from wine enthusiasts. All legit. Impress your wife or significant other or yourself if you like those ZONIN Prosecco, or if you're one of the ladies of the rising female demographic on the CanesInSight podcast. Grab yourself ZONIN Prosecco. I drink Prosecco. I used to drink Prosecco, the alcoholic version, when I drank. Now I got a non-alcoholic bottle from ZONIN, but they got all the different types, including alcohol full and alcohol free. ZONIN Prosecco, ZONIN Prosecco. So, Pete, breaking news. You ready?
Ready.
We have to change the heading of the show because it is actually major breaking news. Matt Zenitz reports the Miami Hurricanes are targeting Broncos offensive assistant Fabian Upshaw for its running backs coach opening. He coached in Denver the last 3 years, working with the Broncos running back group. Before Denver, he was an assistant quarterback coach at Tulane. I believe Fabian Upshaw was a quarterback for Georgia Southern for a while. He's from Titusville, Florida. That is the Space Coast. Same high school or same area as Chris Collinsworth, right? 'Cause that's where the astronauts go up. That's why they call it Astronaut High School up there in Titusville and the Space Coast by Cape Canaveral. But he was a 4 years co-starter for Georgia Southern. Looking at his background as a coach, the Denver Broncos have had some nice development from their backs. You look at Jaleel McLaughlin, who was undrafted, ended up having a really good year. He is a young guy, obviously. Just looking at trying to figure out how young he is. When he's 32 years old.
He played
32
at
years old.
FIU.
He played at FIU as well. I know he played at Georgia Southern.
Played quarterback at FIU. He was 2011, so he might have was that Mario at that point? He must have been, right?
Ooh,
Yeah,
he might have cracked the
played
code
for him.
there.
Yeah,
But then he must have transferred that to Georgia Southern because he had sophomore, junior, and senior year at Georgia Southern, and that's where he put up stats.
Yeah, from Titusville.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Got his master's at Tulane.
Yeah, he signed with FIU in 2011. So,
and look, I'd heard about this guy as being someone to keep an eye on, just the Broncos in general. So this is not something that came out of the blue, but ultimately, when Matt Zenitz, he's plugged in with the agents. I think that he's being connected properly here. And interesting tidbit on Upshaw. He was interviewed for the wide receiver coach position at Denver. So the beat reporter for the Denver Broncos, Zach Stevens, said, this was back maybe a week ago. He said the Broncos interviewed Fabian Upshaw for their wide receiver coaching position. He's an offensive quality control coach for the Broncos and very well thought of inside the building. Again, this is the Denver Broncos beat reporter, a young coach on the rise. This is all from Zach Stevens. So clearly he was a riser in Denver. My guess is he didn't get that receiver job. And he was just like, all right, well, if I didn't get the receiver job, I need to coach a position. And that's the next step in my career. So I'm going to the University of Miami to take that job. Look, you want to have rising guys. Stepping stone for Miami position coaches, I think it's the name of the game. You don't want these old guys that have been there forever necessarily. You want guys like this that are hungry, that have big dreams, that have been rising in all their spots. Obviously, he's a smart guy. He's a quarterback. I don't know, to sit here and tell you this situation that we're just learning on now live, I feel great about, but I do like that the beat reporter for Denver, no ties to Miami at all, is pumping this guy up and identifying him as someone who's well thought of in the Broncos building.
Well, there's a lot of beat reporters that say a lot of things that I don't know if they're true or not. So I can't use that necessarily as any sort of reference.
We got the interview, so they were interviewing him for a reason.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I don't like you said, I can't really react much to it because I don't know much about him. And that's not to say it's good or bad. He may end up being the best running back coach in the country. It's interesting they're going to the NFL though, D, because we talk about it. Like if he's already interviewing for NFL jobs and now he has to come and recruit, does he just jump right back to the NFL? I guess it doesn't really matter. You're trying to
Matt Merritt. How long we had Matt Merritt? We had Matt Merritt
2 years.
For what? 2 years? 2 years.
2 seasons, I should say.
Yeah. So 2 years of Merritt. His running backs last year were outstanding, best offense in the country. This year they won. They went to the national championship game and they ran all over the playoffs. And now he's a running back coach in the NFL. If I'm Upshaw, I'm looking at that trajectory. Yeah, he had to recruit along the way. He had to do some stuff he probably didn't want to do, but that's not a bad trajectory. And I am sure Upshaw's looking at that and saying, I'll do the same thing and get paid while I'm doing it.
Yeah, and he'll be in Miami. He's a Florida boy, so Denver is a bit of a different scene out there. I'm sure he'll be happy for that, and I'm sure he's got a bunch of ties up and down the state, right? That because Mario, what's his process going to be like? He probably got some great background on him from the NFL side, from the Broncos as well, and the other question is going to be, what can we do recruiting wise? What's your engine going to look like recruiting wise? Because that is for Mario and the way he hires, that's going to be probably more than 50% of it, especially at running back. So go ahead.
No, I think he cracked the code. He signed with FIU out of high school.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So he didn't stay there. So you wonder, like, did he leave because I think he left the year before Mario left.
Yeah.
So
I think he recruited him there, and so he knew him from the recruiting process.
Right, but I mean, he transferred. But it must have been an amicable transfer, is what I'm saying. It wasn't like a situation where he transferred and it was bad blood because he. Well, actually, you know what? I don't know, because He didn't get to Georgia Southern until 2014. So maybe he was there and they transferred after Mario left. It's hard to tell. Unfortunately, these smaller schools don't have the best. All right, so here we go, Pete. I got it. You ready?
Yep.
So, high school player. Looks like a good high school player. He was a high jump champion.
Don't bring his huddle up, please.
High jump champion, basketball, track. Looks like a pretty good athlete there. So Mario signed him, and then he redshirted, and then he transferred after Mario left.
Yeah. Kyle says pay raise. Pete, he isn't one of the main assistants of the Broncos. Yeah, trust me. He's definitely going to be getting a pay raise. I don't know that if he was one of their main assistants, he'd be leaving there, unfortunately, for us. But
there you go. So that's really the story there, is that you have a guy that Mario recruited to FIU. So there's a personal relationship. Mario, I'm sure, sat down with Mario gets down. I'm sure he sat down with the family. I'm sure he knows everything about him. Oh, by the way, Pete, so here we go. I'm going to show you something else about the beat writers, because I mentioned the one beat writer said that he was well thought of internally. Here's another one here. This is Parker Gabriel saying, among the others that interviewed for this job, this is the job that went to Ronald Curry. So Curry was
receiver, I remember.
He ties to Sean Payton. He interviewed for an OC job. So obviously he's probably higher up on the totem pole in terms of he's an older guy. He's been around longer. But look at Parker Gabriel. He's a different beat reporter than the guy I just said. Among the others,
they had the same guy feeding them his agents feeding him the same info. Man.
Talented guy that Denver is high on internally.
Sounds like what the other guy said. So that's good.
And he was at the Senior Bowl too, by the way, working with the tailbacks. So
good.
So this guy's got some experience at the pro level, and now gonna
see what he's got at the college level here, man. Learning on the fly. I gotta say, D, well, there's no way to judge, but we'll see.
What critical reach are you gonna go for?
There's nothing critical, man. We'll see how the rest of these hires play out. It's the panic button is still, the alarm is ringing, my friend. This is not. I don't know, man. Would expect some bigger names in the mix here, but that's my
running back coach. Who do you expect
for everything? I mean, I know they've been turned down at tight end multiple times. So okay, well, that's and now they're getting a guy who hasn't coached at the college level. So I mean, we'll see.
By the way, just to combat misinfo here, with the running back coach, I actually heard. What was the last home basketball game? Pete, what was the last home basketball game we had? Virginia Tech? What was that? Last Thursday?
No, Tuesday, a couple Tuesdays ago.
So I had heard Denver Broncos running back coach, not knowing exactly who it was, because that's all I heard, and I didn't think the Denver Broncos running back coach himself would leave. But I heard that then. So that was what, a week ago? So this is not a new name that's there because, guys got turned down or whatever.
So he was our first choice.
I don't know if he was or not. I don't know these things. I can just tell you what I know, that I did hear this name as like a done deal. And I take that with a grain of salt because I know how these things are with the coaching searches, which is why I don't come on here and like do eyeball emojis and say stuff about the guy being because I don't know. But that's what I heard on that Tuesday. So I guess a week and a half ago. So there's been something going on here with Upshaw for a minute. So I don't think this is like a guy that's circling back. If anything, my guess is we were waiting on him to see if he got an NFL position coach job. And look, you always say it.
This is I don't know, man.
NFL. Everybody wants to go.
But he's already there. Yeah, he's already there, which is like, it makes me feel like he's jumping at the first chance he gets again, which is fine.
Yeah.
If he does a good job here, I guess,
Pete.
Pete what? Pete
If your
what?
position coaches aren't going to the NFL, you're not recruiting very good position coaches because they all want to go.
Shoot, we need a whole lot. We need a bunch of position coaches now. So
Because we got some good
I don't.
ones because they all got raises.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go to Ohio
Oh,
State. They
hey,
didn't go to Alabama.
I'm trusting the process, man. There's not much to say until we see not much to say until we get about halfway through the year. Quite frankly, if I'm being real, I don't care what people say about, man, this guy's been here working with this guy during this. I don't care. Let's see what it looks like.
I don't agree. No, well, you will see some results quicker, Pete, because the recruiting is going to happen fast. There's a lot of running backs we got to add to this class. I think that's really the priority with this guy is you're recruiting a Kimball, the kid from St. Louis, Johnson Cook. I mean, you're recruiting a lot of running backs. So I think you're taking 2 this year, high school running backs. So I think the immediate impact from an Upshaw is going to be on the recruiting front. And I don't know what he's going to be there. But I will say the thing that jumps out to me, yes, NFL, the profile, it really makes sense. It makes sense why he would leave the NFL because he wants to go back to the NFL probably in a higher role. Fine. That's normal. That's what you want, ascenders. It makes sense why he'd come here because he's from here, Florida, and Cristobal recruited him. So there's a personal relationship, and Cristobal probably knows the kid, knows the fam. I say kid, the guy's a coach, going to be paid a ton of money. But I mean, he knows him from when he was a kid, knows the family, knows the whole deal. So we're learning about this when everybody else is learning about it. But when you put the pieces together, it all makes sense. Will it work out? Who knows? But it all makes sense. It's not a head scratcher in any way. It all makes sense to me.
I mean, shoot. I'll scratch my own head, my friend. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's to me it is. I want a guy. I don't know.
What are we looking for?
Someone who's been an established recruiter. To me, it's a complete guessing game. Everything a recruiter can look good on paper until we see it, we don't see it.
You don't think Mario is going to trust in his recruiting ability when he brings him in? You think Mario's like forgetting the recruiting part of the whole deal?
I mean, I'm sure Mario trusted when he hired Kevin Steele and Josh Gaddis that they were going to be good coaches. So it's everything goes different ways.
Yeah, and I'm sure we probably loved it because they were established guys. You talk about established guys. This guy was coming off a Broyles Award. Kevin Steele's the most established defensive coordinator of the country.
I liked Heatherman and Dawson hires. I don't know that I loved the other hires, but hindsight's
our guy USA NJ says, "Come on, Pete, lock in, throw up to you."
Listen, I can be a fan and look at things through non-orange and green glasses as I normally tend to do here. I'm not going to sit here and just clap and approve. Not that my approve or anything means anything, but I'm not going to just say, wow, great hire, or man, superstar in the making, just because I saw, 2 beat reporters that probably got, info from someone saying, hey, my guy's looking to go get some jobs now. Can we get his name out there? We know how this works, D.
I better not see some thumbnail like unproven recruiter ? I better not see that on the thumbnail. I already see your.
So he's a proven recruiter.
What
is it the truth or is it? I don't know. Is he a proven recruiter or is he an unproven recruiter?
I want to see some astronaut or like spaceship clip art. Both.
So we're getting away from the question, man. We're getting away from the question at hand here.
All right, man. So look, we'll see how it is. Flanker's on your side. He says valid to worry about not having a coach in the most concerned room. As far as like the personality stuff, I'm not worried about. I think him being from the pros is actually going to help him in that. The recruiting, we actually don't know, and it is an important recruiting year for running back. That's what I would say with running back. Look. Mark Fletcher knows how to block. Jordan Lyle, and they're actually all good blockers. You got to keep developing Pringle. I'm not worried about that part of it. And I'm not even worried about managing the personalities as much because he's coming from the NFL, which is like such a cutthroat situation. I bet he's probably better at that than others maybe. What I'm not worried about, but what I think is this good or bad will be the recruiting. Because this is a big, big year for running back recruiting. He's not going to be here that long probably, but you got to get the right running backs in here. And by the way, with the running back board, I reported this in the bank last week. The running back board is huge. There are a lot of names on that list, a lot of names that we really like. I mentioned Elijah Kimball, Johnson Cook from St. Louis, we love. Um, Tyson Robinson, Brandon Tyson from the Deep South, guys we like. So there's a lot of names on the running back board. I was told that the actual running back coach was going to have a lot of say in who we go after and who we like and who we prioritize because he was coming in with fresh eyes. So that running back board, put a circle on that one. That's going to be a very interesting one to watch with the new coach. But look, it's not official, but Zennis is pretty good. I bet this is this all makes sense to me. Fabian Upshaw, likely the next running back coach of the University of Miami.
Kyle says NIL is the proven recruiter in 2026. Did Texas running back coach have a long-standing relationship with Derek Cooper at the NIL talk? Yeah, so we probably wouldn't have gotten him either way, right?
I think evaluation is a big one with these guys too. Is like I know with when Merritt came in from USF, which is in Tampa. Remember, Tampa is right next to Sefner, where Gerard Pringle went to high school and is from. So I think Merritt, when he came in, in fact, I know because we were the first people to report interest in Gerard Pringle. He was not on the radar at that point when CanesInSight reported that we had interest. But what happened was Merritt came in and said, I've been working on this guy Pringle for USF. This guy could play all day for Miami. And then we were on him first. Alabama, Georgia, teams came on him. He ended up being a top 10 back, but we got him. So the evaluation part, I think, helps with these, is a separator, I should say, with some of these position coaches and obviously head coaches as well. Even in the NIL era, you got to pick the right ones and spend on the right ones.
I'll say this, D. We probably haven't mentioned the thing that this guy's coming in with, most likely, if I'm going to guess, that is probably most important here. I think, as I've said the entire time, with these position coaches, it's not even, it's the recruiting, the development, all that, but how can you manage that room? Having been at the NFL level, having been around pros who all are the best of the best and have to understand the role, they're all getting paid, but they have to play a role. If you're the third string back who's coming in and getting, maybe 6-7 touches a game, or you're the fourth back who's coming in for 2 snaps a game, snaps, not touches, you have to be able to get these guys to understand what their role is. So I think that's probably, I want to look on the positive side here, because I'm having a tough time doing that right now. That's where I would think that he's coming in with the ability to probably manage a room, having been around high-level pros.
Yep, I would agree. And I think that's going to help, especially with these guys. Mark Fletcher, if you ask him, I mean, he's going to be a pro next year, right? So I think that's his vision of the whole thing. So,
yep.
All right, before we get into this safety preview and the interview with Coach J.D. Arteaga, let's shout out our boy, Josh Sarnoff, who he hasn't been in the chat, which means he must be out there working. He's probably getting his hands dirty.
He was out there with a Reeslaw PA yesterday.
There it is.
I talked to him on the phone, man.
Oh, he is the man. Shout out to our guy. Oh, let's do the video ad today for Scrap City, scrap-city.com. Happy Love Month. I didn't know this was Love Month, February, but I guess with Valentine's it is. These guys right here at Scrap City, that's what they do. They do the dirty work. If you're a working man and you deal with scrap, you're talking about AC people, plumbers, electricians, you name it, industrial loads, just stuff in your house. If you're just cleaning out your house and you're doing some work in your house and you have extra scrap, go to scrap-city.com. You see that cash flying in the air. Turn your scrap metal into cash. Recycle into cash. Call them today, 954-330-9472. Pompano Beach location, Delray Beach location. They'll show up and pick up at your spot. Ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals, which are their specialty, copper. They'll take care of all this stuff. Scrap-city.com for the working men. Don't just recycle. Don't just throw stuff away. Turn it into cold, hard cash. Scrap-city. All right, Pete. Let's get into these safeties here real quick.
Yeah, let's do it. Should we start with the pride of Christopher Columbus High School. And don't even throw that out there because he did not graduate from your school. Shout out to, there's something in the water down there on 87th Ave, baby. State champs in soccer last night. It's a special program from top to bottom. But Bryce Fitzgerald, I mean, you were all over him from day one. And day one really being over the summer because he did not get in early. That's probably the thing that people forget when it comes to his success this year, is that he came on big time during camp, interceptions every day, every other day, multiple interceptions. So and you were talking about him very, very pretty much daily, right? Like you were with Malachi Toney, but he didn't have that same adjustment in terms of being able to get here during the spring. So what can it look like now for him with a full weight room program under his belt now in the spring and kind of adding to the physical part of his game that we've always talked about with him?
Yeah, that was the question. We said, man, this guy, as a recruit, we're like, this guy's maybe the best athlete in the class. Is it going to be offense? Is it going to be defense, special teams? Like, what's he going to do? Is he going to tackle enough to be a safety, or do you have to put him at corner if he plays defense? He's fast enough to do either one. Shows up. The playmaking ability is supreme. I mean, like you said, every practice we were talking about, it was every practice he was getting INTs. Clearly was a play early candidate, ended up playing against Notre Dame on that third down package. His role expanded over the year as he kept getting interceptions. Second in the entire country in interceptions as a true freshman, not among true freshmen, in the country as a true freshman. So just an unbelievable season. He was more physical than I think our concerns were. Like, he was blitzing. I saw him get a couple sacks. Like, he was playing closer to the ball at times than I thought he would and doing a nice job. Now, there were also some reps that you probably wish he'd have back. I don't think he played as much in the playoffs as you would think, given what he did against Texas A&M in the first playoff game. Had that maybe a misfit against, or just a bad angle against Ole Miss on that Lacey touchdown. But this is one of the best players in the country, most athletic players in the country coming into the season of 2026. And I think you want to see that ability to tackle in space, the physicality, just continue to rise. So it's no longer even a question mark. And all you can focus on is this guy's 4.3 speed. This guy can turn and run. This guy's ball skills are as good as it gets. The instincts, the ability to turn those plays that he reads perfectly into INTs, not just batting him down. But spectacular talent. If all goes well, we've heard about sophomore slumps, right? We talked about Malachi Toney, freshman All-America. We want to follow the progression of Malino and Bain. And Bain had a tough sophomore year, but a lot because of injury, where they're freshman All-Americas after 1 year. Third year, we're talking about them at the combine as top 10 picks. I think Fitzgerald has the ability with his speed and athleticism to be that kind of guy where he goes freshman All-America, and then he's shaking Roger Goodell's hand 3 years later. But this is a big season for him. I love the player, Pete. I mean, I don't know. What do you think the upside this year? Are we talking about a first-round pick if he continues on his progression, which is not guaranteed?
Yeah, because of what he can run, which is the separator, I think, at that position for him. But I think, I have a tough time seeing him have like a sophomore slump, just because it's with him. He's got the prerequisite in terms of the speed and the IQ. Like, the IQ and the ball skills aren't going to leave him overnight. That's who he is. That's what he's got. I think with him, it's just like, what can he continue adding to his game? Are we going to see him? And I think he gets a bad rap sometimes too, just because he's not like a thumper. People expect safety sometimes, and they say, man, these guys are getting downhill and they're thumping. He doesn't need to be that either. You just need him to be a sure tackler in the open field. You need to have him willing to. You saw Keontae Scott last year, and I think you'll see Fitzgerald used a bunch of different ways in terms of his versatility. He won't just be the deep free safety. We saw him as an A&M game that he was that A&M that he was in the nickel? No.
Well, the last 3 games of the year when Scott was out.
He was
sacks, he was blitzing, he was doing
a lot. He was balling. So he showed that already, and I think they're going to continue using that because you have other players in that room who have interesting skill sets. JJ Dunnigan coming into, who's said that he can't fill a role, which we're going to talk about all these guys. But I'm saying with Fitzgerald, just like I think he'll put up the same amount of interceptions next year, right? It maybe one or two less because that interceptions are random. But I think with him, it's going to be about just adding to that game, adding to his game more so than, hey, is he going to have as many interceptions?
Yeah, and do we see him? The thing is, we have so many good players on offense, and we have Malachi at return, and I'm sure we'll have good kick returners this year. Last year, we had Keelan Marion. Maybe he's the kick returner this year. That could be something. We have other guys that could do it too. Pringle, you want to get those running backs on the field too. So there's a lot of different ways you could go. But this might sound sacrilegious to baby Jesus, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not sure Fitzgerald's not the best punt returner on the team, just based on what he did in high school. Now with Malley, I've said it, he's the best football player in the country, period. So the trust level with him, just fielding it, making good decisions, and then he was close to breaking one in the playoffs. I mean, he could break him too. But Fitzgerald was, I mean, how many did he score in high school? He scored like 10 over the course of his career, punt and kickoff, and they were like good ones, like against Northwestern, against like St. Thomas, like dusting people. So he's actually faster.
I was mad at we should both be ashamed, D. And I meant to text you this the other day, but we had his high school basketball coach on last week, and we didn't. And then Andrew Moran, who is an assistant for the Canes, we had him on last week, and we forgot to ask him about Bryce. Which, by the way, just a quick side note, like, Coach Moran was asking me about how Bryce was performing in camp last year because he was so invested in it. Like he really cares about this guy and his career, his future. So like, it's cool to see that that synergy that goes on campus sometimes. But we did mess up there by not asking his basketball coach about him.
Yeah, by the way, the people at Belen too, I know you don't want to bring it up, but he was there at Belen. He won a state championship in basketball actually before he played. He was more, I mean, I'm not saying this, he was more a basketball player at Belen than Columbus. Columbus, obviously, they had recruit like guys from like Puerto Rico and Africa. They were the number one team in the country. Belen was good with him. They won states.
And listen, the Boozers were homegrown. I guess Westminster will tell you they weren't homegrown, but they were there since freshman year.
But so anyways, he played a lot at Belen at basketball. He was really good there. We're talking to people about him while he was there. They love him. I mean, obviously to get into Belen, you have to pass a lot of academic benchmarks. So the guys got it upstairs, and he was a spectacular athlete. I think part of the reason he left was because he was playing every sport at Belen, and it's hard to play every sport and keep up with the academic. Not that it was too hard intellectually, but it's a lot of work. Belen has a lot of schoolwork. That's what it's known for. So I think he's just like, all right, well, let me go to Columbus. It is a better football program. I'm not going to lie to you about that. Lock in on football and just elevate and sort of zero in on what's going to make him hopefully a multi-millionaire. But I wanted to pull up this picture, Pete, because there was an interview that Mario had at the UNC basketball game. I don't know if you remember, where he was on the field or on the court interviewing, watching the Canes hoops play, and then Bryce Fitzgerald walked by because the team was being honored. And Mario made a joke like, hey, you're skinny. You got to get in the weight room. Well, I think Bryce took that personal because look what he's been posting on social media. There he is doing a nice chin up there. Best exercise in the world. And there he is showing the guns, man. He didn't look that small. He's not that small, by the way. For those who have not seen Bryce in person, like he's not a small player. I mean, I think he's a probably average safety size and above average, slightly above average corner size. Like he's not small. He looks small because he's so athletic, but he's a hell of a player.
I'm gonna see if I get an updated weight for us here.
Yeah, he's. I mean, I saw people saying 170. There's no way. He's probably like, I would say he's probably like 185, 190. He
was not 170 last season. He was 185 185 plus last season. Maybe
he could be closer to 190. He's not small. He's not small. He's got long arms.
He was like 185, 190 last season. Like probably closer to 185. But yeah, I actually heard, I think the number I heard was like 187 at some point. But I just asked for an updated weight from someone who would know. So if we get it now in the next in the next half hour here or so while we're on the show, then I will update you guys.
Yeah, and look, when I think, yeah, if he's 6'5", 190 plus, and he's running 4.3, and his overall athletic ability is the best in the country in terms of just like being a safety who can run, turn, cover like a corner, smooth and coordinated and everything he does, and then of course the ball skills. I mean, I haven't looked at every safety in the country. I'd be hard pressed to find a more athletic safety than Bryce Fitzgerald, to win a state championship in track 4x1 at Columbus, win a basketball state championship at Belen, and then win a football state championship at Columbus. I mean, 3 sports state champion and 3 important sports for what he's doing at his position. Complete stud. I'm a fan. Obviously, we've been fans. Excited to see what he can do. So that's the sizzle of the safety room. I think, to me, Pete, the solid beating heart of this safety room is Zechariah Poyser, number 7, Jacksonville State transfer, originally from Wildwood, Florida, right there by the Villages, where they opened a Hooters up there, a great Florida institution up there in by Wildwood, Florida. So this is a guy who played basketball growing up, really good basketball player. I heard someone was telling me they saw him running around and he was throwing down dunks, really, really impressive on the hardwood at UM. Played wide receiver. Goes to Jacksonville State. Terry Jefferson, Miami's Nichols coach, was coaching him there. And freshman All-America. I mean, what's he had? I think he redshirted. So he had the adjustment from not playing as much safety, not playing as much football, then really locked in as a full-time football player, redshirted, was a redshirt All-America, balled, then goes to Miami last year as one of the highest paid, highest rated safeties in the portal. We beat Georgia for him. And I thought he had an outstanding year, man. He was consistent, had some injury scares because he throws his body around, but physical, covered ground. Jacoby Thomas was spectacular, but Zechariah Poyser, to me, was right there with him. And I think he's an NFL guy. He can move. He's athletic. He's smart. He tackles. He kind of checks all the boxes there. Nothing is spectacular, but all good.
Yeah, I mean, safety is a position where a lot of times, if you aren't getting interceptions, it's kind of like offensive line or tackles, right? You're judged on, if you're in the play and someone catches the ball on you or you're out of position and it looks like you're out of position. That's how fans sometimes see it, right? So it's almost like if your name's not getting called, sometimes it's a good thing. But with him, I think we saw earlier in the year, and he's a physical, he can get downhill, rangy. But with him, we saw I think the first couple games of the year, people were like, hey, his angles are off. Like, he's missed some tackles. You didn't see any of those questions as the year went on. He became one of the more reliable tacklers on the team. He was violent, seemed like he was always quick to the football, right? Quick to diagnose. And it just never seemed like he was out of position necessarily.
No, I mean, how many big plays
I'm sure Coach Heatherman and Will Harris will say otherwise, right? But it seems like someone who, as the year went on and got caught up to the speed of what he was going to be seeing because he has the speed, but it's one thing to be able to just line up and run, and hey, I've got to read things because things are moving at a faster pace than it was at the level I was playing at.
Yep, 100%. 68 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, 6 passes defended for Poyser. Thank you for the stats, Kyle. And a torchbearer, right, in terms of like, he was on this defense last year, did all these things. So he knows what it's supposed to look like. He knows the level of intensity. He was part of that. He was one of those tone setters. So I think he'll carry that over this year. Honestly, watching Zechariah Poyser, from when I first saw him in practice, my first thought was, man, I wish we had him last year. You know what I mean? Like, if you put Poyser on that Cam Ward team, I think we're a hell of a lot better. Just sliding him in there. So very good player. Was draft eligible this year as a redshirt sophomore. I'm sure he wants to come back, be a leader, get paid, do his thing. But I think you talk about, if you're starting this room with Fitzgerald and Poyser, that's going to be one of the better safety duos in America, I got to think, Pete. I mean, I know it's like, people call me the hype man, but when you're playing at the level Miami's playing at, it makes sense. You're going to have rooms that are as good as there are in the country. And with Bryce, who's a freshman All-America, potentially a total All-America soon, and Zechariah Poyser, who was a highly touted portal guy who lived up to it and more, I don't think it's a stretch to say one of the best safety rooms in the country, up top at least.
Time will tell. You can say that. I probably won't, but you can.
Well, you wouldn't say it wouldn't be on paper. I mean, time will tell with all these guys.
I would say your top two safeties are really good. I don't know what it's going to look like behind that. So to say room, I don't know. Your
right, top
your
two.
two starters.
I'll say top two.
Your two starters are really good. Omar Thornton, I want to see how he kind of what his role is going to look like. I guess you kind of throw him in that safety room, nickel, whatever you want to call it. But I would like to see what the depth is there, D.
Yeah, just for purposes of this exercise, for those listening, we talked about Omar Thornton from Boston College and Dylan Day from Baton Rouge, the signee from a couple of years ago who's been playing special teams, played a little bit on defense, almost had a pick six against Ole Miss, so he's playing. So we had Dylan Day and Omar Thornton battling at nickel. So for purposes of this exercise, we're not going to talk about those guys. They're going to be nickels for this analysis, but they could also, obviously Dylan Day was a safety last year. Thornton could play both. So skip those guys. We're not forgetting them, but they could also be safeties. Bobby Pruitt, who we talked about yesterday at linebacker, he's had experience in the safety room. So we talked about him yesterday at linebacker, but he's also in the mix at safety. So put those guys to the side. So to me, the focus then shifts to somebody who, when I talk to people internally, this name comes up more than I thought it would, Pete. Conrad Hussey, the transfer from Florida State, and I guess Oregon State briefly. So prove-it deal, but a prove-it deal with a lot of upside. Conrad Hussey from St. Thomas Aquinas, guy that played running back youth football, really good youth football player. Grew up around Jason Taylor's sons up there in Broward County. Of course, JT ultimately coached him at St. Thomas, where he shifted to more of a defensive role as a safety, returned kicks, 10, 900-meter guy with good size. I mean, Hussey's got all the tools. He's going to be one of the more tooled-up safeties in terms of just having size, being an older player who's been in the weight room, and then having speed to take it to the house. He was a star for FSU early. We tried to get him out of high school. He goes to FSU, was a star early, was probably the best freshman on that team, that veteran-laden team that went to the Orange Bowl and went undefeated in the regular season. So he's on the up, gets a new safeties coach. They clash. That becomes an ugly situation. The team falls apart, as we all know what happened at FSU after that season. So as the team went down, he kind of went down with it, got into a fight with an FSU coach. That was widely reported. We support him in that fight. Obviously, he was in the right. Goes to Oregon State, which is another kind of sinking ship. Like, he gets kicked out right before, I think the fight happened like either during camp, like right before the season. So he goes to Oregon State like right before the season after getting kicked out of FSU. And that doesn't really work out. He plays a couple games. He's like, I'm in a red shirt. The coach got fired. He got there late. It was it was just a mess. So then now his stock's super low, just back in the portal. Miami takes a shot on him. JT knows him from St. Thomas, so it's a character vouch. And I just think in general, Miami really liked the ability. He's a tough player. He likes to hit. He's feisty. He has that energy and that edge and that juice that you want on this defense. So they thought, look, this is not like Zechariah Poyser where you're battling Georgia to see who could pay the most for this guy. But it's a situation where more of a proven deal on somebody with a lot of talent that, Pete, me and you and people you talk to have been fans of this guy for a long, long time.
FSU thought he was a foundational piece for them after his freshman year, D. So, and as we've both heard from different people very close to it, they don't think he's a bad kid. They think the situation that he was in at Florida State kind of, for whatever reason, flipped a switch in him that, I think he probably regrets the situation happening. But at the end of the day, now has a great opportunity here. And you have multiple years of eligibility with him too, D. So that's what I love about it, is that we're talking about this safety position, and it's, you still have to see what you get out of him. But I think the upside is very high there, considering we've seen him do it. There's film. So you just got to bring that back out of him, get him in a situation that is going to be better for his skill set, and at the same time surround him with people that know him, and that sort of thing will never, it won't get to that point.
Yeah, so he's class of 23 and he redshirted. So I guess he's got 2 years of eligibility. So he's redshirt junior. Yeah, and And
he needs with the ups and downs of his career, he's probably not going to the league after this year, especially with how it looks like he's not going to be like a full-time starter. Anything can happen, but I think he's a guy who can end up being a surprise here.
yeah, I know that's the internal thought. I mean, look, you got to see it, right? It's like anything else. You got to see how it looks when he's there playing spring and interacting and doing all those things. But I think he's close to 200 pounds, and he was a 10.9 guy in high school. So you're talking about a guy probably runs close to a 4.4, just projecting high school track times to what we're doing here. Certainly in the 4.4s or maybe low 4.5s, but size speed wise, he's going to be right there with all these other guys. We talked about it. He has an edge. Sometimes that edge leads you to fight your coach, but against the Seminoles, so we support him in that fight. But I special teams, coverage units, returns, practice, and then he could easily find himself on the field. Also could cover, so maybe a nickel. So interesting ad. I like it from a physical standpoint, from the way this guy plays, and the risk reward is heavily tilted towards reward without that much risk. Another guy I want to talk about, Pete, and I think this guy, to be honest with you, Pete, I think is a big like Hussey's one reason, but I think this other guy's a big reason why you're seeing Dylan Day and Omar Thornton so locked into that nickel spot. I just heard a lot of buzz about him yesterday. I've heard buzz about this guy from maybe 5-6 different people. I can't wait to watch him myself. You saw him a little bit in that practice that was open. JJ Dunnigan, the true freshman out of Kansas, Pete. What are we looking at here?
As our boy 50 says, JJ done it all. I love that nickname.
One of the most versatile players in the country. Track. He did basketball at Kansas. He was an offense, defense, return kicks. I mean, he was an everything player out there in Kansas. So yeah, 50 is the nickname king right now, the slogan king.
And it's funny because he hasn't done it all yet, but he, like you said, the buzz on him from his first week. He was scout team player of the week in that Ohio State game lead up, right? And I don't know that I was necessarily circling him as someone that would be like an early impact player, but it seems like guys are moving out of the room for him now.
Yeah, and again, it's everybody says the same thing. It's like when everybody's saying, "Hey, this guy, this guy right here," that's an eyebrow raiser to me. I believe his dad played for Kansas State, which is why he grew up in Manhattan, Kansas. Little brother's a prospect too. A late riser. He was a 4-star always, but he rose a lot. Ended up as a number 114 player in the country. So the arrow was pointing up with him. Great senior tape, 6'2", 185. So he's got size. Heard he looks the part in person. Ran a 10.9, and kind of like Conrad Hussey, ran a 10.9 in high school. So the speed should be there. Went to the Under Armour All-America game last year as a underclassman. So just like Jordan Campbell, the linebacker, both those guys played in the Under Armour All-America game as young players. Dunnigan was actually playing corner at that time. That's how athletic he is. Got an interception in the game. Also did well in practices. Plays some wide receiver, physical, plays fast, times fast. The comp out of high school was Azariah Thomas, who was a Florida State grad that went to the Jets.
It's Azariah.
But I think this guy's probably more of a safety. Really, really excited to see him. I can't tell you, again, Pete, I know you've heard similar. Many, many people have said, different people that aren't talking to each other. JJ Dunnigan, remember that name. And the fact that when I see Dylan Day lining up a nickel and Omar Thornton expected to really stay at that nickel spot, Hussey has something to do with that, I'm sure. But seems like Dunnigan might just jump right into that too deep.
Yeah, looks like it's already happened, honestly. So,
Amari Wallace moves on. I don't think that was a huge loss in terms of just like instant impact. He was a smaller guy, goes to Sacramento State, I believe is where he signed. He needs to play. Good playmaker, but not the biggest and fastest guy. I think guys like Dunnigan made it tough for him. So he moves on. You bring in Cortez Redding, so some more freshman depth. But ultimately, Pete, I think in a perfect world, these four we talk about really, really solidify the safety position for the Canes.
Is Wyman in the safety room too?
Jontavius? No way. He's like 180.
So what, corner?
Jontavius Wyman? I mean, I think so. I can't imagine.
I mean, shoot, then what's he going to play then?
I think he's played corner, and I think we compared him to Bryce Ochero, who I guess was a safety, but I think he's probably more of a corner. He played corner in high school. He's He was like 170 something pounds in high school. I think Wyman will be a corner, but then Cortez Redding will be that safety for you in that class, along with JJ Dunnigan. So I don't know if you have to. I mean, I'm racking my brain. Are there any safeties we're missing? Seems like this position is kind of light in terms of numbers when you remove Pruitt, who practices safety, when you remove Dylan Day, who's been a safety the whole time and is now playing more nickel, when you remove Omar Thornton. So it seems like safety is going to be these four are your safeties. And if you have to move someone or place someone at safety again who you've tried other spots, you just move them back. With Cortez Redding in the mix too, I said 4 just because Dunnigan, we've heard more about him, and Redding's a little smaller, probably needs to gain some more weight. But Redding could be trying to get in that room too. But those 4 we mentioned, Poyser, and we'll throw Redding in the mix too, because Redding, we should talk about Redding. We kind of skipped over him, which we shouldn't have. Like we talked more about Dunnigan because he was here earlier, but Redding, smaller guy out of Atlanta, Georgia, 4-star player, 5'11", 180 something. I mean, not the biggest guy in the world, but this is a guy. Talk about multi-sport guys. A lot of times we talk about guys playing basketball and they just, they get a couple rebounds, they'll steal the ball. Like Cortez Redding was a hooper. So he was like Wingo. Like he was like one of the best players on his team, on a real team in Atlanta. So Redding brings that smooth basketball ability. You watch his film, getting picks, making hits, instinctual player, just really smooth, coordinated mover. So he's someone I don't want to just forget about, because I think Cortez Redding has a chance to be a really, really good safety. He needs to get bigger, not as big as Dunnigan coming again. I think that's going to be the question with him, but has the athletic ability, was very productive in a good level in Atlanta. Atlanta produces defensive backs up the wazoo. He's one to watch. One name I would watch potentially moving a safety, I don't know if this is going to happen, is Brody Jennings out of Jacksonville, who we brought in as a corner, and he can play corner. He can play nickel. I think nickel might even be his best spot, but I've heard he could also play safety as well. Bigger guy who can hit. So 5 probably full-time safeties, and some other guys that will minor in the position.
Sounds good to me.
That's what I'm saying. This room's good, man, P. I get that it's unproven behind the top 2, although Hussey's probably played more than your average third safety.
He has. And I believe in him. Like I think he's going to be a good pickup here. So I don't want to make it seem like I don't think this is a top level room, but I'm conservative when we start to say best room when I haven't studied, sat down and looked at like other. But
teams. The top 2, I think, is a top 2 that, put it this way, if Bryce Fitzgerald jumped in the portal, or if Zechariah Poyser jumped in the portal, I think their paychecks would be on the higher end of the pay scale. Is that fair to say?
Yep. They probably aren't far off from it right now.
That's what I'm saying. So I could say whatever I want with my Canes stuff behind me and all that, but at the end of the day, I think the portal market's probably the best objective indicator of value.
Yeah.
And not everybody's on it. So like, not everybody's in the portal market. So you can't measure apples to apples all the time. But given that Zechariah Poyser was a top rated guy with Georgia and Miami paying him starter money out of the portal, then he had a great year, I would say he's probably top of the market kind of guy. Not Caleb Downs, but he'd get a lot of money. And Fitzgerald, who knows, he'd probably be one of the highest guys in the portal period as a freshman All-America with tools. So good way to be. We've had some rough safety rooms in the past, man. Think about 2 years ago where safety was and now where it is. We're cooking, man. So excited about what's happening with Miami Hurricanes football as we gear up for spring. Also want to tell you something else I'm excited about, which is KashKick, KashKick, one of the top apps in the country, 1.5 million plus downloads, 4.5 plus average rating in the App Store. You're going to be killing time waiting for that spring practice to start in a couple weeks. Give your free time a raise with KashKick, KashKick. Download it right to the App Store. It will connect to your PayPal. And as you are playing games, browsing, doing surveys, money is going into your account. So turn that free time into cash with KashKick, KashKick in the App Store. All right, Pia, I got to pull up the one more read as we get ready to shift into Coach Artiaga's interview. And I'll do the read here while you pull it up, even though this is like, it feels perfect coming out of your, out of your vocal cords, because you have been doing this ad for, man, 11 years. It's insane how long you've been doing this read. They got to spruce it up. I got to talk to Jim, who he will be there this weekend. His whole team coming down from Boca. They'll be the baseball buddies. So this guy is tied into the program like you wouldn't believe. One of the best friends Canes baseball has, Jim Sala, and the whole team at Sala, Serene & Cox, boutique law firm focusing on securities, regulatory matters, broker-dealer, and invested advisor regulation, white-collar criminal defense, complex commercial litigation, and securities arbitration and litigation. The firm aggressively represents clients throughout the nation. 100 years of collective experience handling securities and white-collar criminal matters. He's worked with the SEC. He got Hak Tua, the social media celebrity. He beat her case with the SEC. He's on TMZ and everything. The man, Jim Sala, our boy. And brought to you by Sala, Serene & Cox, we have the J.D. Artiaga Show, talking about an amazing win yesterday over FAU. Huge series this weekend against the University of Florida. Best offense in the country by over 14 runs. That's the difference between 1 and 2. And more, man. This guy's really got it rolling right now, and we're excited to talk to him. Coach J.D. Artiaga. All right. Welcome to the J.D. Artiaga Show, powered by Sala, Serene & Cox. We are here with the coach of the 10-0 Miami Hurricanes, Coach Artiaga. Coach, eventually we're going to do this one after a loss, but it's kind of nice doing it after a dub like last night against FAU, man. How are you feeling? What do you think about that performance before we get to the whole season? Just interesting game to watch.
Just showing a lot of resilience again, man. A team, we didn't panic going into the ninth inning. They're putting up a 7 spot against their closer. It's just never feel like we're out of it, Didn't play well, especially defensively, and pitching, you could pick each other up a little bit. I felt, typical freshman, once Williams dropped that ball in right field, Sebastian had a little tough time kind of settling in and kind of minimizing there. But all in all, he did a good job until that, late in the 4th inning. But it was good to see, the hitters pick us up again.
We all know the competition is going to pick up, but still, to be 10-0, we saw LSU lose yesterday. We saw UCLA lose yesterday. Just what does it mean to have this start for someone in your seat and watching this team? Like, what are the advantages of this start? Are there any disadvantages of getting a start like this? I mean, I know you'd rather win than lose, but like, what are you managing when you had this kind of hot start?
Well, I mean, there's no disadvantages to losing, but one thing it does do, it kind of masks some of the things we got to get better at, but as coaches, that's our job. Even in winning, we got to teach and making sure we're correcting things we're not doing right and make sure they understand. It's those things are going to beat you against better teams. So that's our job, but never going to apologize for being undefeated or 10-0 or off to a good start. There's no negative to that.
I mean, number 1 in America in runs. At last I checked, 14 ahead of Georgia Tech. Just seeing this offense and the different guys stepping up, what jumps out to you? You knew it was going to be good. We talked about it on air, off air, just about the expectations for this lineup. But now seeing it through 10 games, what jumps out?
That's the part of having a long lineup. It's 1 through 9 can beat you. So you have a couple guys that have an off night. You still have 2 or 3 others that can do some damage. And that's the important part about it. Not all 9 are going to be hot all year. Obviously that's not going to happen. But it's going to be tough to shut down all 9 in any game. So that's where you put pressure on pitchers. Mentally it's a grind. You can't relax. You can't take any breaks anywhere in our lineup, really. I mean, that's with 2 of our guys that are out. So that's the advantage of it. It's going to be a lineup, all year long. It's as long as all 9 don't get in a slump at the same time. And baseball is one of those games that there's ups and downs. It's going to happen. But I think I like our chances with the bats that we have.
One guy who really was the hero yesterday, Brylan West, the FIU transfer at first base. I mean, he's been playing well, but it's like there's been so many superstars in this start having just insane performances. He's got lost in the shuffle a little bit early, but then being able to show out and be the star yesterday, just what do you see from him? Why do you bring him in, and what has he brought to your ball club?
he's, in our eyes, he was always a professional hitter. He's the guy that's been in college baseball for a long time, and again, he did a lot of damage against us midweeks at FIU for the last couple of years, so we know what he's capable of doing. But we brought him in to be that guy, that bat that he's been so far, a clutch performer, gets big hits, tough outs. And it's funny you say that. We had ACC Player of the Week. Week 1 was Williams. Week 2 was Dubovic. Week 3 hopefully be somebody else. But it could be anyone in our lineup could be that guy. So that's the exciting part.
Another guy who I think got, I won't say overshadowed, but we talked about so many freshmen between Alvarez and what he did in preseason, what he's done now, and then Dubovic. But Jalen Watkins has been able to step in there with Van Sheen going down. Just what have you seen from him that's given you the confidence to put him in that role?
Another one of those freshmen that I was talking about early on in the season before we got started, and talking about how talented our freshman class is. He's come in and played solid defense. He's had some, the speed dynamic on the bases. A little bit of small ball when we need it, and we're not, again, we want Shane back. We can't wait for him to come back, and time will tell when. It's close, but I'm not sure it'll be this weekend. But it's not much of a fallback. It's Jalen brings a certain aspect to the game that Shane doesn't. So then having Ogden, where you can move him anywhere, between second and short, that helps out a lot too. You can't lose the vision of that, on the importance of Ogden being able to play second base or shortstop. So it's an easy transition. We just move him over to short and plug in Watkins at second base. But he's done a great job for us so far.
One of the advantages of playing so many games, we talked about the 6 games last week. You've seen so many pitchers, right? Now, hopefully starting to get maybe a clearer picture, rotation, bullpen. We saw Lachi Colleda pitch yesterday. Is that a sign that we're looking at a weekend rotation with Siskar, Evans, Darius? Do we have clarity on that? Or how do you see that all shaken out based on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, that Sunday's still not very clear. We're probably going to go, this weekend. It'll be Siskar Friday, Evans Saturday, and a TBA on Sunday. We feel that, Gladwell's down right now for a week or so I'm not sure if he's available. So we felt that we needed a little extra punch there in the bullpen. So we slid, Coyera into that role. Now, we don't have to use him Friday, Saturday, then he'll start on Sunday. We do have to use him, then it'll be Tate Darius or somebody else on Sunday. So that's kind of where we're at. We're still waiting on a couple more guys to get back, and Nick Robert and Frank Menendez. So for now, we still got to kind of figure out that role and see who falls in there. But the bullpen is so important. I mean, without Coyera throwing a strong 6th inning yesterday, I'm not sure that we were able to win that game, So that's kind of what we're thinking right now. And Friday, Saturday set. Sebastian did a good job. Is he ready for the weekend? We don't know yet, but he's pretty close to being ready.
And when you're making decisions as far as who gets those opportunities and who gets the starts, what are you looking at from these starting pitchers? Like, what do you want to see? They're all young guys. They're going to be naturally some inconsistency in performance just because they're young guys. Like, what are you looking at and locking in on in making those decisions?
Performance, right? I mean, to me, the starting pitcher's job is to give us a chance to win. We got to go deeper into games. It can't be a 4 1/3 or 3 1/3 type of outage. Then it blows the bullpen up for the rest of the week or the following game or whatever it might be. So we're looking for a little more, innings out of them, quality innings, gets, 6, pitching to the 7th inning. And we feel good about that. But that's the starter's job. It's not, I know they get the win or the loss, in their record most of the time, but their job really is to give us a chance to win. He throws his 6, 7 innings, we got to lead, and the bullpen does their job, then we win the game. But it's up to the bullpen to win and lose it. The starter gives us a chance.
Shifting to the bullpen again, seen a lot of arms, so you've had the opportunity to evaluate a lot of guys. Just how do you see that? Do you see roles shaping up where, it seems like just from yesterday, see Lachi is sort of that longer relief, maybe Packy, Bradley Cooney, set up, Bilka, closer. Like, do you have clarity on the bullpen roles? That's still kind of an evolving situation.
Well, I think last night might have been the first opportunity where we had that, true bullpen role where there's the setup guys that come in and hold it down, and then, the closer come in and close it out. And we didn't get it done yesterday, So that's all, again, that's one of those concerns that the hitting kind of hides a little bit, but our bullpen's got to be better, more consistent. In fairness to them, we haven't had too many opportunities. That might have been the first one really of where we had a lead late. But we got to be better at that. And that's, again, that coming into the season, that was a concern. We have the guys in place that we feel are the right guys, but again, they haven't really been tested till last night. So we still, I can't say we have that figured out because no one's really done it yet.
Just seeing these 10 games again, 10-0, which, for those who maybe don't follow college baseball as close, this is not like these teams. These are dangerous teams if you're not on your game. I mean, we just saw the number 1 and number 2 team in the country lose their midweek game. So this is not easy to go 10-0. But just what has surprised you in this stretch, if anything? They maybe or surprised you, or like you just weren't sure of coming out of camp. You're like, hey, I got to see what it looks like, and then you've seen it, and now you have a better picture of it. Like, what has jumped out to you that maybe you didn't expect or you weren't sure of coming in?
The calmness in the dugout. I think the calmness, the at the plate. When you have veterans, it's a good thing to have veterans, but at the same time, it's somewhat dangerous, right? You got guys that are in their draft year, guys that tend to press sometimes. They got to do more than they have to, and that usually shows its face early on in the season. So a guy like Cheyenne, a guy like Cuvée and Sosa. I mean, this is their draft year, so in their eyes, they got to have big years, and it's not easy. It takes some mental toughness to kind of stay within your game and play your game. So it's good to see those guys. Then you got the seniors that might be upset that they're back in college. They might be upset that they didn't get drafted, and they're trying to prove that they should have been. And you're not seeing that in Ogden and Williams. Obviously Galvin is out now. Even Brylan West, he's had a great career so far, and he's never been drafted. So those guys, sometimes they come out with something to prove and try to do a little too much. And it's been nice to see them kind of just be their themselves and be the best version of themselves, and something that we preach. Every game you don't play harder because you're playing a Florida or Florida State or whoever it might be, or you play less or take it easy against someone else. It's you got to be your best. Every night out, and they've done that so far.
So you mentioned Max Galvin. Obviously, he'll be back at some point this season. Great dude, great player. One of the only silver linings about something like that, a fortunate situation like that, is you do get opportunities for other people to step up while he's gone. Dylan Dubovic, you mentioned earlier, ACC Player of the Week out of American Heritage, true freshman, and he's a guy. I saw him pitch. I think it was in fall. I was there for one of the games where he pitched, and he was low 90s, looked the part there. Seems like he looks the part everywhere. Just kind of create a player, right, with the size and the speed and the arm strength and some of the things he does tools wise. What have you seen from him in terms of turning those tools into production here early?
With him, it's been toning it down some, and it's always good when you have to kind of pump the brakes on a player than trying to hit the gas and get him to play harder. He's at times out of control, and is overswing sometimes and things like that. But that's a good thing. It's a good thing if you want to harness that. But I can see him being a 5-tool center fielder. I really can. He's arguably the fastest player in our team. He's got a great arm. Obviously, he's low to mid-90s off the mound when he does pitch. Power. He hits the ball hard every time. There's just some swing and miss in there, but that's going to come in. It's not swing and miss. There's a difference between swinging and missing at pitches in the zone than swinging at pitches that nobody can hit. That's not that to me. That's not swing and misses. It's just pitch selection. And that's going to come with time. He gets amped up sometimes and just kind of overdoes things. But again, it's a special talent. It's a special talent, and guys like a Cuvée and Ogden, when they see that right away and they're telling me this guy's different. That tells you something. And he's a guy that he came to us. He committed to us first originally. I think it was a sophomore before the rule changed as a sophomore, as a pitcher. And then I guess Laz went out and saw him pitch, and he hit that day. And he goes, "Man, he's got a chance to hit." And I said, "Okay, we'll see when he gets here." And of course, he's a two-way guy, and he's pretty much just a hitter now. He's an emergency guy on the mound just until those two injured guys come back. But he's definitely a hitter for us right now, full time, and we'll see how long he keeps his job.
And he's a guy that had a lot of draft buzz. And we've seen this before where these guys have a lot of draft buzz and maybe their senior year or whatever, for injury or whatever reason, doesn't live up to their expectations. They end up going to college, and then they look like pro skill set. Just about his kind of evaluation, and you've seen this play out before. Like, what does it mean to get a guy like that who in another set of circumstances might have been in a minor league camp right now instead of being in the college with the University of Miami?
It's a dream come true for a guy like Chris Dominguez, the hitting guy that has something to work with like that. Those types of tools to develop. It's our job is to develop guys to make them the best players they can be. They're not all big leaguers. They don't all have the tools to play in the big leagues. Some great players, but big league tools are different. And Dubovic is one of those guys that has big league tools. So I'm sure Chris has a great time with him, and he's very coachable. He wants to learn. Again, it takes a lot of coaching with him, but great guy to work with. and it'll be fun to see his growth over the next 3 years.
The game yesterday, before we move on to Florida here and wrap it up, there were some, drop balls, things of that nature early in the season. We're still February on the calendar. Like, what can you do to clean some of those things up while also getting ready to play the Florida Gators? Like those fundamental things. What do you do to clean some of that stuff up?
Just keep at it, man. Just keep at it, keep working, keep practicing. You keep working the fundamentals. One thing that sometimes gets lost during the course of a season is the fundamentals. And you kind of get caught sometimes just coming out, taking batting practice, taking some ground balls and call it a day just because it's a late game last night and a quick turnaround or whatever it might be. Or we got 5 games this week. But fundamentals in our game is still number one. It's still key. So there's not much coaching when you talk about dropping a fly ball. I mean, you just got to catch it. There's no drills for that. You just got to keep doing it. As far as that game last night, it's always, I think our record over the last 5 years is 1-4 on that particular game. We always seem to play FAU the weekday before we play Florida, and whether it's FAU or FIU or whoever it is, it's easy to get caught looking ahead and being excited about the game, the weekend to come. And that was something that was mentioned to them, before the game, and I had James or SID look up our record. It was 1-5 or 1-4 over the last 5 seasons on that particular game at Boca. And I felt like we were okay there to the 4th inning, and then we got a little sloppy after that, and the pitching didn't come through, but it was nice for the hitting to pull us to get us out of that jam at the end.
It's a beautiful backdrop behind you. I mean, you don't need any help getting people out to the ballpark this weekend because it is sold out. I mean, it's everybody's asking for tickets. It's insane. I'm asking people for extra tickets because it is such a hot ticket right now for the Gator series. And a lot of these guys are portal guys coming from other parts of the country. They have not experienced some of the rivalry, some of the adversity you guys have faced in recent years in this rivalry. Like, do you impart that on them, or do you want them to just treat them more like, hey, this is a regular game, play ball?
Again, our philosophy, my philosophy is play every game like it's your last game, like it's game 7 of the World Series. That's the way you got to respect the game that we play. If you start pushing this weekend, yes, it's a big weekend. I get it, but it's a weekend, right? We're not winning a national championship or losing a national championship this weekend. It's a rivalry game. It's probably bigger for the fans than anything else. And believe me, I want to beat them as bad as anybody. But I want to play our game, And it's something I pulled out stats for Derek Jeter's career stats, and it's amazing. He's known as Mr. November and one of the best, most clutch players in baseball history. And he's played 158 postseason games, and his stats are almost identical. His postseason stats if you average out his 19 years, it's like he went from hitting 310 to 308, like 20 home runs to 22 home runs, 66 RBIs to 70 RBIs. That was his average. 200 hits to 198. He was the same player, yet he's known for his postseason heroics, when the reality is he was just Derek Jeter. And it was Derek Jeter, the same one you saw in April, you saw him in November. He didn't try to do more. He didn't try to do less. He didn't take days off. He played every game to the best of his ability, and that's what we preach, and hopefully that's what we come out this weekend and continue to do what we're doing and not try any harder.
On the baseball side, again, you guys lead the country in runs by a good amount, and you're going against really, really, really good arms for the Florida Gators. So just that matchup, do you approach it differently? Because, hey, it might not be not that it's ever easy, but I mean, this has been an incredible run on offense. Like, do you approach it differently in terms of how you're attacking this caliber of arm? Like, how do you approach that jump in talent? And you face some good pitchers. That UCF pitcher was a beast. You face some good ones. But, the depth and velocity you're going to be dealing with.
Velocity be a little more. The biggest difference between good pitching and average pitching is those hitters counts, right? And an average pitcher on a 2-0 count is probably going to give you a really good pitch to hit, where a good pitcher is still going to make a quality pitch. And if you as a hitter try to do too much in those counts, you're going to end up getting yourself out, right? So when you come into facing better pitchers, it's more about a discipline thing and still keeping the approach of taking what they give you. And you're not going to get that 2-0 center cut fastball 2-0 count all the time, or 3-1. They're going to sink something down and away from you. If you try to hit out of the ballpark, going to roll over, hit a weak ground ball to short or second, whatever it might be. So that's the biggest thing. And the discipline's got to be. It's not about talent or ability. The discipline's got to be better against better pitching, and hopefully that's what we do this weekend.
It's going to be a lot of fun. 2 of the best teams in the country. One of, if not the best atmospheres in the country there at the light. It is going to be a lot of fun. Coach, always appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, guys. I shouldn't have to push to get people out to the game today. So hopefully the parking garage will be full as well, like it was against that UCF.
Oh yeah, it's going to be, with to keep people out, man. There's going to be some people just trying to jump the fence, man, because it is the hottest ticket in town. But that's how you want it, man. Then I think we're going to see more of that throughout the season, because those who've been out there to see you guys have gotten a show every single time. No one's left disappointed. So again, appreciate you joining us, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Great stuff there from Coach JD Arteaga with D-Money, as always, here on Thursdays. Tomorrow morning, we will be live with Eric Pastrana, assistant coach for the Canes basketball team, as we've been bringing you guys these coach interviews. And we also had Shelton Henderson on a couple weeks ago as well. So excited to continue that basketball coverage here. And I will be live this afternoon for CanesInSight PM, live at 3:05. I'm going to be gathering some more info here on this new running back hire. It looks like going to be made here. So I'm going to get you guys some more info here from league sources, and then also talk some NFL Combine stuff. We're starting to get some of these measurements in here today. Bain and Mesidor already getting their official measures. I got to say, some of the early stuff here, not great for our guy Bain, but we understood that this was going to be the tough part of the process for him in terms of when they started to, do the measurements, and we'll see how the testing goes for him. But we will get into a lot of that here as more reaction comes from the NFL world as these measurements roll in here as it's Combine week, and I'll keep you guys updated with that again this afternoon. CanesInSight PM. Keep it locked here on the CanesInSight YouTube channel and wherever else you get your podcasts. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Go Canes.